Now they are second on third down. I think that's the key of this game, by the way. Chiefs are first offensively, Chargers are second defensively on third down. That is a big one. And in the red zone, the Chargers are third. So they're very, very good situationally. That, to me, is this whole game. If the Chiefs are even or better with them, like if they draw even with them on third downs and on red zone, you feel like it's a stalemate, I think they win the game.
Yeah.
If the Chargers dominate in those areas, they probably win the game. If the Chiefs dominate in those areas, this game's probably a blowout.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
It's That Football Show here on KC Sports, presented by Holiday Bourbon and Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon. Thank you to our sponsors there, Underdog Fantasy as well. Stick around to hear how you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash plus a free pick by using the code KC Sports at Underdog Fantasy. Appreciate everybody joining us once again as we're back for a double episode week. Matt Verderame, Tucker Franklin here with you. Matt, how you doing?
Doing great. My Twitter mentions are absolutely on fire. We'll get that later. But I got to tell you, I like it. This time of year, you need a little bit of heat. Keep you warm. I'm a big fan. And we got the Chiefs Chargers Sunday night. We got Lions Packers Thursday night.
Yeah,
football's good, my friend. We're getting there. We got 5 weeks left. The Chiefs are already in the playoffs. So
that's crazy. I
mean, what the hell? If Denver beats the Colts next week, the whole damn playoff picture is basically locked on.
I know.
It's insane.
It's been a crazy year.
It really, usually you get to the end of the year and there's a million different scenarios. We're going to get to the AFC and you're going to get Denver might be like the 6th seed. That's the biggest change that could happen. Okay. That's it. Awesome. And I don't even know that that's possible. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, there is that matchup. I think I saw a graphic. I can't remember who it was put out by. I think it was PFF. Moo, I think is who put it out. I could be crediting that to the wrong source there. But it was basically of the AFC teams of like the ones that are going to make the playoffs on one side and then the other ones that like don't have a shot to make the playoffs on the other. And then it's just the Colts and the Broncos kind of staggering in the middle, and they do play each other as you mentioned. We'll talk about that as we roll on. But yeah, already the Chiefs and the Bills clinching playoff spots 13 weeks into the season, and the Bills. I know this is a Chiefs podcast, but the Bills clinching a playoff or clinching their division without playing a team in the division is actually insane. Like, they have not played the Patriots yet, but they have still clinched winning the division because the Patriots are that bad.
You have that. The Chiefs technically clinched a playoff spot in November.
Yeah.
In November. Like, didn't even need the Chiefs, if they wanted to, could just go on vacation for December and just be like, yeah, we're in the playoffs. Doesn't matter. Like, no, it's wild, man. Like, the AFC, 6 of the teams, it would take some kind of a catastrophic disaster to miss, and 2 of them are already in, as we talked about.
Right.
Denver, if they beat the Colts, Denver and the Colts both have a bye this weekend. If Denver then beats the Colts in week 15, like, it's not mathematically, but it's pretty much over. The Colts are, I believe, would be eliminated, I think. I at least from catching Denver, because Denver would be 3 up with a breaker on them.
So it looks like I'm on the NFL.com, their standings and their playoff picture right now. They give you some probabilities here. Right now, the Broncos' playoff probability is 77%, and the Colts is 24%. But like 24% is the highest of anyone in the AFC not currently in the playoff picture. You go over to the NFC side of things, like the Bucs currently aren't in the playoff picture, but they still got a 66% chance of making the playoffs if they win this week. So there's not a lot, as we mentioned, there's not a lot of discrepancy of like where the playoffs will be, of who the playoff teams will be, but like the seeding, obviously, we have all that to shake out. But like, yeah, you're looking at this here. The Steelers, over a 99% chance if they beat Cleveland to make the playoffs. If they lose, still a 96% chance. The Texans have a bye this week, but they have a 96% chance to make the playoffs. The Chargers, even if they lose to the Chiefs this week, still have a 91% chance to make the playoffs. The Ravens.
No.
Yeah, the Ravens, 97% chance they're also on bye. And as I mentioned, the Broncos, 77% currently to make the playoffs. The AFC, like, I think we kind of always knew this with the AFC, though, Matt, is that we knew who the playoff teams were going to be. I don't think they're. I think Denver might be kind of a surprise of them getting into that last wild card spot. It's probably the Dolphins. I think is probably who a lot of us thought it would be coming into the season. Dolphins, probably even Bengals, or I don't really want to give the Browns that much credit because we knew they had a terrible quarterback going into it. Yeah. So it was probably Bengals, Dolphins was kind of who we kind of thought for that other wild card spot. But other than that, it's been pretty as the teams we all kind of anticipated as these teams to be these playoff teams in the AFC.
Yeah, and look, so ESPN's got a playoff machine.
Yeah,
that's
fun to play with.
Yeah, it's right. It's one of those deals. It's fun to screw around with it. And I got to tell you, I'm sitting here. I'm doing it right now because I'm here for the content. And of course. And so, look, here's what I think is very, very, very realistic. I think that Denver is going to be locked into the 7th seed by the time we get to week 18. I think there's a real world here. Now, the only caveat to that is if Denver ends up 9-8, which is more possible than you would think, and Miami ends up 9-8, Miami wins a tiebreaker. So there is that caveat. But if Miami's not in a position, like let's say Miami enters the last week of the year and they're 7-9, okay, and Denver's 9-7 or better, there's a really good chance Denver's locked in because they already lost the Chargers at home. Yeah. They play them week 16 in LA. If they lose that game, they're not going to be able to catch the Chargers. They're not catching the Chiefs. So they're going to be third in the division.
Right.
Well, I mean, simple math tells you they're going to be the 7th seed. Like, I don't see any. They already lost to Baltimore and Pittsburgh as well. So if there's some weird scenario there, they'll lose out on those as well. I think Denver, there's a really, really good chance that Denver's going to be locked into the 7th seed from week 18. And if they are, they're going to sit everybody. They're going to sit everybody. And I know this is weird. I said this, I think, on the last show. If you're a Chiefs fan, you probably want Denver to beat the Colts because they will have nothing to play for week 18. Nothing. And if you're Kansas City, you might be playing for the 1 seed. And all of a sudden, you've got a Denver team that's like, yeah, here's Zach Wilson and nobody else. Like, we're sitting everyone in this game. And I think if you're Denver, like, you would have to do that. If you're locked in the 7th seed, you're not going to play that game for no reason. Like, why the hell would you do that? So, you don't care if the Chiefs have the 1 seed. What do you care? I mean, I think that is where this could get very interesting. Is as we look down the stretch here for the Chiefs, they've got the Chargers this week. Then for people who don't know, they're at Cleveland on Sunday afternoon. And then, a short week after that, they play Houston.
Yep.
At home on a Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
And then on Wednesday, on Christmas, they play the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Yep. So, rapid fire. Like, after this Chargers game, they're going to have a stretch of, 3 games in 10 days?
Mm-hmm.
Not easy. Not easy, but if they need that last game against Denver, they might get really lucky because Denver might have absolutely nothing to play for.
Yeah, Chris Jones has said, I think that was after the Black Friday game when he said that, like, hey, I got to talk about the NFLPA because, like, we can't do that. Like, to have a week 6 bye and to have 3 games in 10 days in December is not great for player safety for a league that cares so much about player safety. Maybe that's another conversation to have. But as you mentioned, this Chargers game is a game, like, if Chiefs win, they win the division. They become the ninth straight divisional title. I don't think it's necessarily a record. Is it a record for as many division titles?
It's not. It's second all time. The Pats, I think, won like 11 in a row or something like that because the AFC East was just the AFC East for 20 straight years.
So bad.
It's unbelievable. There should be a documentary. Like, forget doing it on the Pats. Do it in the other 3 teams throughout that dynasty. Like, here's the fun thought exercise for everyone out there. Take out the year Brady got hurt and the Dolphins won the division. Okay, take that year, put it aside. That is also the year, by the way, Brett Favre was on the Jets. So take out that year, which excludes Favre. Who is the best quarterback in that division other than Brady in those 20 years?
Chad Bennington?
Yes, that's the answer. Yes. He's good for 1 year.
He was good for 1 year.
It's unbelievable. Like, the number 2 answer might be Ryan Fitzpatrick,
Yeah.
who somehow played for all 3 of those teams. Like, it's just, I mean, yes, at the very, very, very end, there was Josh Allen, but Josh Allen wasn't good yet.
No, he took 2 years before he actually got good.
He was terrible the 2 years that he shared the division with Brady. He was awful. So, I mean, if you actually look at it, it's like, yep, the biggest competition they had was Chad Pennington, and the only year he was good was the year Brady was hurt.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Like, you couldn't make. It's almost like the Pats had control of the other teams. Like they could turn off trades in Madden.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's insane. Derek Carr would have been the best quarterback in that 20-year split by a mile if he had been in that division.
Mark Sanchez had that one good year too.
Yeah. Pouring out for old Marky.
That was a year before the butt fumble, right? When they went to the AFC title game, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Then he started just slamming into his offensive lineman and stuff. And it was over.
Yeah, that was tough.
Bro.
But back to the Chiefs. They're a team right now that looks like that they don't quite have everything put together. And maybe at this point last year, this team might have been a little bit more, I'll say it in air quotes, put together than the team is this year. They still got some big questions at left tackle. And frankly, Matt, that's maybe where we start, because DJ Humphries is going to be, as you said it on last, not necessarily last week's show, the last show that we did on Monday, he's going to be the most important player in the NFL. And I wholeheartedly agree with you with how this all shapes up. I'm curious your thoughts on if DJ Humphries, it's not, now we're recording this on Thursday morning. At the time we're recording this podcast, we don't know if he's going to go or not. I doubt that we know if he's going to go until like inactives, right? I think that's probably how the Chiefs are going to play this. If he doesn't go, is Joe Tooney your left tackle?
Yes.
I think he has
to. They cannot put Wanya Morris back. Now, I'm going to be fair to Wanya Morris. I think he's playing really hurt.
Okay.
Like, he played reasonably well until that knee injury in Buffalo, and he has been a shell. He can't move. Cannot move. But that being said, you cannot put him out there. If I was Mahomes, I wouldn't go on the field if they don't put Tooney at left tackle. But I firmly believe it's going to be DJ Humphries, man. I do not see a world where they don't put him out there. You got to play him. Like, as long as he's healthy, and it seems like he's healthy, play him. Let's be real here. It's not like DJ Humphries is getting in the huddle and the Chiefs are like, all right, boys, we're running duo, and DJ Humphries is going to be, I have no idea what that is. He's played football for a really long time. Like, he's going to know how to, like, pull on a counter. It's okay. Look, I get, you know, he's going to have to know the calls again. Like, he can figure out the call. Like, they
sure, Joe can tell him in the huddle what he needs to do.
Yeah. Like, listen, if I yell out Larry, that means we're sliding left. You know, like, it's not, listen, I'm not trying to say anything here that I'm not saying, but, like, it doesn't take Columbo to figure out some of these calls at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
You know, it's not like there's a reason that when Jahmyr Gibbs posted that picture with all the Lions protection calls on there, Dan Campbell was just like, I don't care. There's a reason. Like, it's not because Dan Campbell's the baddest man on the planet, although he is a bad man. Like, it's because Dan Campbell's like, yeah, you're not winning this game because you're blitzing off the left tackle and we're calling out the protection to slide, and then the defense is like, oh my God, they knew. Guys, they know, like 90% of the time. It's that's part of it. I don't think it would be, a big deal to play him. I don't. I truly think he could play.
I agree with you, and I feel like it's one of those situations too. I think Nate Taylor was kind of talking about this on Only Weird Games, where he was saying that it feels very similar to the Kareem Hunt situation, where they brought Kareem in and they're like, all right, we'll get him in football shape, we'll get him in shape here. We'll maybe wait a couple weeks before we really integrate him in, and then Carson Steele starts on Sunday Night Football and he fumbles it, and they say, you know what, Kareem, get loose. Because it might be one of those situations where maybe they were trying to get DJ Humphries a little bit more time to acclimate, to get into shape after coming off of rehabbing off of an ACL injury. And maybe that Matty Lane brought this up on the Casey Lab. ACL injuries are a little more difficult for athletes that move laterally more than offensive linemen do. So there's usually not a ton of change of direction needed for offensive linemen. So like they usually don't impact offensive linemen to the degree that they would affect like let's say an Xavier Worthy or a dynamic athlete like that. So I think it was one of those situations where they were like, yeah, we would love DJ to get you acclimated, get you ready to go, get your body feeling right. But then Friday happened and they said, DJ, why don't you strap it up? Strap it up. See how that helmet fits. You got the right shoulder pads. Let's make sure you got those.
We
and
go ahead. One more missed block away from Andy Reid putting on shoulder pads and being like, all right, it's my time to shine. Yeah, getting out there. I remember those days at BYU. We're going to crack some pads. I mean, we were, and that's kind of the whole point of this. Like, it's not as though the left tackle play has been, it's been atrocious.
It's been bad.
Like,
yeah.
You can't trot Mack and Bosa out there for the Chargers, and the Chiefs are just like, I don't know, Wanye Morris on one leg. Like, sorry, that's not going to do it. Okay. Meanwhile, Jawan Taylor's lined up like he's Isaiah Pacheco at right tackle. I mean, it's not good. By the way, if that happens again in this game, and he's lined up again in the backfield, I really think we need to call for an intervention. Like, does he not have the gift of sight? Like, turn to your left and look down there. And if you're looking and you see nothing but green grass, you need to move up.
Yeah.
Like, in any event, I feel like I'll be saying this for the next year and a half, but it is what it is.
Do you think what point do you think Trey Swift's got to be tapping him on the shoulder, right? Because that's probably where he's lined up, right? Where he's got to turn around, reach him to his shoulder, and be like, "Hey, buddy, let's
scoot up.
Let's get up a little bit. We gotta scoot up."
I just can't imagine, like, you're at the NFL level, and this happens all the time with you, right? Like, if this happened and I never played football at any serious level. I would be playing hockey and baseball. Like, I guess I'll use like my sport that I played growing up. So if I'm playing baseball, okay, I was a catcher. If I lined up behind the plate and I kept standing way too close and just getting drilled in the head, right? Like, wouldn't you at some point be like, damn, probably got to back it up at 18 inches because I'm sick of getting hit in the head full speed with a metal bat. Like, nope, it's gonna keep doing it. It's gonna keep doing it. Like, just gonna keep. I mean, Jawan Taylor in that analogy at this point is standing in front of the plate.
Of the plate.
Plate. What are you doing? It's just, I really feel like if Eric Bieniemy was still on the coaching staff, there would be a fight at the 50-yard line.
That's probably fair.
I think the second time it happened, Bieniemy would have met him on the field, and it would have been like, we're fighting now, Whereas like this current staff offensively is like, well, maybe think about moving forward. Like, okay, great. That being said, look, they play a Chargers team this week that I think is a little misunderstood. Like, they are a good defensive team. I think it is over the top to talk about them like they're a great defensive team. And I'm not just saying that to say it. Like, so they're ninth in the league in yards per play, where they give up 5.2 yards per play, which is excellent. The Chiefs give up 5.3. Like, it's not like there's some huge discrepancy there. But then you go and you look at them and go, okay, well, where are they strong? Where are they weak? Their run defense, 23rd in the league, 4.6 yards per carry against you can run on. Then you get new sacks, and they're great, right? So they have 36 sacks, which is tied for 6th best. Here's what's surprising. Their pressure rate, 24th in the league.
Huh.
Don't get a ton of pressure. They are a team that doesn't blitz a ton, bottom half of the league. They're a team that they're average in terms of missed tackles. They're right there with the Chiefs, actually. But then you start looking at like quarterback hits. Like, they're 17th in the league. Chiefs are 10th, by the way. Tackles for loss, they're 21st in the league. They they feasted on playing some really atrocious offenses at times,
Mm-hmm.
but against really good offenses like Baltimore and Cincinnati, they've gotten smoked.
True.
So my point is not to say they're not good defensively. I don't feel that way. But I feel like they're fine. Now, they are second on third down. I think that's the key of this game, by the way. Chiefs are first offensively, Chargers are second defense on third down. That is a big one. And in the red zone, the Chargers are third. So they're very, very good situationally. That, to me, is this whole game. If the Chiefs are even or better with them, like if they draw even with them on third downs and on red zone, you feel like it's a stalemate, I think they win the game.
Yeah.
If the Chargers dominate in those areas, they probably win the game. If the Chiefs dominate in those areas, this game is probably a blowout. Like, I think that's what this game comes down to.
Yeah, well, I'll agree with you. I'm going to be curious to see how, speaking of situational football, how they included Isaiah Pacheco more in this game. I think he had 20 snaps. They tried to keep him around 20 snaps in that last game against the Raiders. Understandable, coming off of a broken ankle. You want to kind of ease the guy back in there. I want to see how they use him in this game. And situationally, he did break off that 30-some odd run that was the longest run by a Chiefs player, like Chiefs running back this year, which is crazy to think about. The Chiefs don't have that dynamic ability in the backfield with Samaje Perine and Kareem Hunt and Carson Steele. Like, those guys don't have, really, to an extent. Isaiah Pacheco doesn't have like breakaway speed, but he has the ability to turn runs into big runs. I'm going to be excited to see how they use him in this game, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. They run a lot of zone, the Chargers do, and the Chiefs used to be very good at zone. But Travis Kelce hasn't quite been the Travis Kelce of the past years. So I'm going to be curious to see how they counter that. I'm sure that they'll have something to do it. And Travis Kelce always plays good against the Chargers too.
He does. Although Brendan Staley's no longer around, so that's sad.
That's a point.
Moment of silence for that. You know what? Just throw them off their game. Like, the Chiefs should just come out with a 4 tight end set to start the game and just run 4 verts. Like, we're like, the Chargers are like, what is happening? You know, like, I want Ferkshire just down the seam, just a 30-yard bomb. Can you imagine? You're the Chargers. You're Jesse Minter. You've been game planning all week, and you're like, what are they doing? Like, just Ferkshire down. Like, I'll tell you right now. I'll promise you one damn thing. You're getting a matchup you like right there, because there is no way in hell they're prepared for Ferkshire running 30 yards down the middle of the field. Okay,
I wouldn't be.
There is no world. Like, they prepared for Noah Gray. They prepared for Travis Kelce. Hell, you know what? Run tackle eligible and just have Caliendo running down the seam. Like, I want the first play of the game to be such chaos that the Chargers are just so spooked by the entire thing. They're like, oh my God, what the hell's happening? Like, and then you just go back to we're running power. Like, it's just total. Like, the first 15 plays are so off the wall.
Yeah.
That the Chargers are like, we have no idea what's coming the rest of the game.
Right.
And if you hit a 30-yarder to Caliendo, Arrowhead Stadium shatters the record for sound. Okay, so there's also that.
Speaking of this game being at Arrowhead Stadium, it's on Sunday Night Football. Do they wear the All Reds? They haven't won the All Reds yet this year. I believe they've won the All Whites. This seems like a perfect game for the All Reds.
Do you like the All Reds?
No.
I don't either.
I like the All Whites way better.
They're all same. I grew up with Marty, man. They always were
sense.
all whites.
Yeah.
Always.
It's the best combo that they have is the all white, in my opinion.
It's that or their regular home, like their red top.
See, look, I really like the white top. Like, the white top, for some reason, is like, I very much enjoy that. I like their away set, I think, is really good too.
Okay. I will say, though, I will grant them this. They have stayed away from all this alternate uniform bullshit, and I appreciate it. I know I'm in the minority with this. I hate all that shit. The Dolphins have like 900. Remember they used to wear like the orange uniforms, and the Bears that look like fucking pumpkins. Those helmets. I mean, you're the Chicago Bears, for Christ's sake. Like, can you just wear your uniform? It's the same. I gotta be fair. Same thing I'll say about the Raiders. Like, they are what they are. They wear, now they're trash. They stink, but they wear their uniforms. And then Denver has the nicest throwback on earth, and was like, hey, let's look like Boise State, the sequel, instead of wearing the nicest uniforms ever created. Denver's 80s uniform is beautiful. Hate them all you want. They're gorgeous uniforms.
Yeah.
No, let's look like Boise State. That's great, guys. That's great. Way to go.
I do love how they announced their new uniforms. They're like, wow, look at all these cool changes we made to these new revamped uniforms.
Great.
And they were dog walking them. They're like, these are bad. These are terrible. Then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we have these throwbacks too.
My personal favorite uniform change of my lifetime was when the Browns went to a slightly brighter shade of orange.
Yes.
And we're like, hey, look at what we did. You're like, are you serious? You've won one game in 2 years, and that is your idea of change. Like, this is why you guys are where you are.
Yeah.
Remember the brown? It was down the pants, like down the side of the pants.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that was
As
awful.
if Cleveland across it, as if you didn't know it was from Cleveland.
Yeah.
Like, I thought this was Dallas.
It's like the Atlanta Falcons just having ATL on their chest. Like, what are we doing?
Which somehow is hilarious to me every time I see Kirk Cousins with it.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it's like that, like edgier new age uniform, and Kirk Cousins is the most like old school, like I'm having oatmeal for breakfast person alive. It just cracks me up. Also, there's another team. Go back to your uniforms from like the 70s.
Yeah.
Red
Throwbacks still.
It's great uniforms. If I was like, no, we're garbage. We're not going to do that. Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
I don't think the Browns need a white helmet. I'm pretty pro white helmets for like any team. I think a white helmet's pretty strong. Browns don't need a white helmet.
Agreed.
Their logo is their helmet. I don't know. Actually, they should put that logo on their helmet. I think that would be very funny. If they put the Browns helmet logo on top of the helmet.
Wow. That'd be amazing. I love when they put like the Keebler outfit to 50 and people are just irate.
I love it.
I actually do too. I think it's funny.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, but as they were showing these two, you were all like, who allowed this? I'm like, they're the Browns. Let them do whatever the hell they want.
They live in Cleveland. Let's cut them a break.
Right. Ever been to Cleveland?
I've been through it. I've never stopped.
Same. So I go to camp there. We go to Berea, and I won't stay in Cleveland. I stay in Berea. I'm like, good. And then there is a place there. I'm going to shout them out. I'm going to give them the love they deserve because they've also survived Cleveland as well. There's a chocolate place there that is just unbelievable. Oh God, what is the name? Mally's Chocolates.
Wow.
Oh my God, man. So when I drive from where I live now to New York, it's a 13-hour shot. Cleveland is dead center, 6.5 hours, perfectly each way. Wow. I know when I've passed Cleveland that the worst is behind me, literally. And so when I'm driving through, I always have my oldest daughter, Maisie, my wife, and youngest daughter usually fly out. We're out there for like 3 weeks to bring a car. And I always stop at Mally's Chocolates. Like the last couple of years, it's been a thing. And we go in and buy $50 worth of chocolate. It's great. By the way, shout out to Laura Little's Candy Kitchen in Kansas City off of 75th. That place is great. Shout out. They're right off of Ward Parkway there.
Yeah.
Not 75th.
Uh-huh.
It's right on the old state line there. It is incredible. My wife's favorite chocolate in the world is at that place. Every time I go to Kansas City, I go there because my wife, Stephanie, absolutely loves her chocolate, and it is top notch. Great fudge, great chocolate. Free plug for Laura Little's. Man, place is amazing.
Okay, yeah. I've been by it. I see it. I'm looking at it on the map.
Yeah, it's amazing. Shout out Laura Little's. You're beautiful people. When I'm out there for the playoffs covering the games for Sports Illustrated, boys better be ready because I'm coming in. I'm putting down serious coin. Sports Illustrated has no idea how generous it's about to be.
Hey, we're small businesses.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's why I was going to be like, what the hell did you buy at Laura Little's for $150? Like, don't worry about it. It was dinner.
This candy kitchen on the receipt. No, it's dinner.
But hey, I stay within my per diem. Don't you come after me now.
I as a person who has a chronic sweet tooth, I love a good candy shop.
Oh yeah, it's great. They got so much. They got my favorite thing they have. They have Nutter Butters. They dip in chocolate.
Lord,
And I'm a peanut butter guy, man. So like that, they got these peanut butter like Rice Krispie bars almost, but like not like a chocolate topping. Then they got like these vanilla creams. Oh, geez, I'm gaining weight just thinking about it. But you know, what the hell? You know, something's gonna kill me. Might as well be the chocolate. It's just amazing, great food. They also to keep this on Chiefs topic, they
There we go.
custom make Chiefs helmets.
Perfect.
They have Chiefs chocolate helmets.
That's incredible.
So
I wonder if they'll do all red uniforms for their Chiefs.
I don't know. I don't know. But see, yeah, this is if somebody's working there listening to this, they're like, man, we just got more plug than we've got in 50 years. But it's worth it. Hey, I'll shout out good stuff. They got great stuff.
Yeah.
Always friendly, always nice, great candy.
I do love good candy. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, we're going to have Benny. Benny, we're going to go over his picks. And then, look, Matt has written something that has made us a fraction of the internet upset at him. We got to talk about it. So we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
At GEHA, we stand behind our members because we were founded by members. So we build health plans with extra benefits like vision and dental coverage, plus hearing and fitness discounts. Visit GEHA.com. Enroll by December 9th at midnight Eastern Time.
Benny, appreciate you hopping on with Matt and I here to talk about some of your picks coming up for week 14 of NFL action. Can you believe it already? We're 14 weeks into the NFL season. Benny, how you doing? How you been?
I'm well. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving with you and your family. I spent at least the early portion of it with my jaw just hanging all the way from the from the bottom of my face all the way to the entire ground, watching. You mentioned like you can't believe how fast the season has gone by. Not if you're a Bears fan. This has been the longest season of my entire life because I think there have been 30 seasons into one over this season. Maybe Chiefs fans can say it the same way with how so many of these games have gone down this year. But no, it has not been a fast moving NFL season for your boy. But regardless, it's going to be with you guys.
Yeah, 14 on to our 14th week. We're nearing the spot where we're I think this is the last week for bye weeks, if I remember off the top of my head. Yes. So we're going to be off there. We're going to be coming up on the fantasy football playoffs. Obviously, as every week, we've got picks on Underdog from Benny. Use that promo code KCSN. Get that up to $1,000 and bonus cash plus a free pick. Benny, why don't you kick us off here? What's your card looking like here? What are your pick slate looking like?
Yeah, let's start with the Thursday night affair tonight. Good game, projected to be a good game between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions in the Motor City. And I'm going to start with David Montgomery. I like him to go higher than 10.5 yards for his longest reception this evening. And I think most people look at Montgomery and say, like, okay, it's him and Gibbs. We got the spoon-fed narrative of Sonic and Knuckles, right? Montgomery's this ground and pound type of bruiser. Gibbs, meanwhile, the shifty, explosive back. But if you kind of go through the numbers for what they've been able to do, the explosive plays from Montgomery have actually been in the passing game. Now, it's limited sample size. We're talking about 3-4 receptions in most of these games. But he seems to constantly do it at least one time in every game. He's cleared this line of 10.5 receiving yards in 3 of his last 4. And we also saw some concern from the Lions side about Jahmyr Gibbs and some of where his turnovers happen. Had that red zone turnover on Thanksgiving that helped the Bears get back into the game before they inevitably handed it back to the Lions. And also the Packers defense, while they've made improvements this year, it's still a defense that has struggled in some aspects against the run, but also they've allowed the 6th most receiving yards to running backs this year. They're averaging about 8.5 yards per reception. And then if you actually take that number collectively with the number of receiving attempts, or number of receptions per receptions per receiving yards, they actually rank bottom 3 in the league as far as most receiving yards allowed. So I think Montgomery is back in a nice spot again to make an explosive pass catch out of the backfield. And I think this number is more than fair at 10.5. So give me the higher on this one over at underdog.
I think it's interesting the way Detroit uses their personnel. I mean, look, you never know with Gibbs and Montgomery who's going to get that hot hand going early in the game and stay in there. And Gibbs is, of course, that shifty, explosive back. And like you said, I mean, Montgomery is much more of the physical downhill bruiser. The Packers this year, they play a different style of defense than they had in years past. They have a new defensive coordinator. And their pressure rate has not been spectacular. And so I think but their coverage has been good for the most part. Now look, Jair Alexander's missed time. That's kind of made some things shift around a little bit. But their coverage has been pretty good. Their pressure, middle of the pack, no pun intended, like not bad, not great. The point is, I think there is a world here where maybe Goff is like, okay, look, I had 3 seconds to survey. I'm going to check down because there's nobody available down the field. And that does lend itself to Montgomery having a play where he gets a 15-yard catch, something like that. So I like it. I think there's a world where that absolutely happens, and maybe even has a couple like that.
Should be a good game on Thursday Night Football, as you mentioned, Benny, but sometimes those games that look like they should be good ones don't end up being very good ones because they're on Thursday night. What's the next pick you got for us here, Benny?
Let's go to the Sunday slate. Got a quarterback play for you guys here, but not through the air, but on the ground. I like Geno Smith of the Seattle Seahawks to go higher than 12.5 rushing yards. And there's a couple different reasons why Seattle, as I mentioned, on the road against Arizona. The first is I was using sort of this measurement data tool on an app called Rhythm. And what Rhythm is able to do is take a lot of different analytics and apply it towards the betting market themselves. And what they noticed in their projection for Smith, which is actually 20.7 rushing yards, that's a 64% DTM, which is difference in market, which they project as having a win probability just over 87% of going higher here. When you look at Smith collectively and how his numbers have been projected over the last 5 weeks, that number of 12.5 has been the line that's been set each and every week in Vegas. An underdog actually has that number at 12.5 compared to the rest of the betting market, which is at 13.5. So you're already getting a yard advantage there. I also think you look at the last 2 weeks where he's only had 2 rushing yards in back-to-back games, one of which came against the Cardinals, but I expect that to change in large part because the Cardinals' pass defense has they've improved substantially this year. They've allowed the second fewest yards per attempt since week 8. Also, the second fewest passing touchdowns in the league at that point as well. And versus, somebody like Smith, if you're not getting those opportunities downfield and through the air, he's not a guy that consistently is going to escape pressure, but he has the tendency to move out. And the fact that he's blown by that number in the previous 3 weeks before the last 2 tells me that if things aren't progressing down the field and they're down in this game, Seattle is a projected underdog in this matchup, he'll use his legs to extend plays. You tend to see some adjustments week to week, especially against division rivals and going on the road. And I think more often than not, if the running game is inconsistent, which it's been in Seattle this year, and you're going up against good pass defense, that's when Geno is more likely to move around a little bit. So I think he's going to rush out a little bit. And I like this number to go higher than 12.5 in a road division game where Seattle is an underdog.
I'll tell you what, I mean, I hear you. I don't know what the prop is for it, but James Conner in this game is the one that I'm looking at and saying, does he have a big game? Because the Cardinals are second in the league in yards per carry. I think it's 5.1. They ran for 55 yards in the first time these two teams met 2 weeks ago. The Seahawks shut them down. They could not run the ball, and the Cardinals did nothing offensively in the game. Neither team did, actually, for the matter. Right. I have a feeling it's going to be a game where the Cardinals are like, we got to run and run and run and run, and you're going to see Conner getting his on the ground. But I think with Geno, hell, they beat the Niners because Geno had a big scramble late in the game, won the game. It really was a 14-yard touchdown. So, listen, it's it's a game of desperation because both of them have to win. And so I think if there's ever a game where if you're Geno Smith, they're going, I don't care. I've got to run some guy over. I've got to get the first down. I've got to get yardage. This is that kind of game. And you see more quarterback scrambles in games like this.
Yeah. 61.5 yards right now is the projected number for James Conner over at Underdog.
Oh, I would. Yeah, I would be aggressive with that. But that's also just me.
Maddie's hitting higher on that one. A little with there. Oh, he's going to way higher. You can throw that. That's a bonus pick there for you here if you're listening to the pod. A little bonus pick there. That division up in the air, to say the least. That division can be won by pretty much any team there. But Benny, what else you got for us here?
Let's go with America's favorite reality star quarterback that seems to think that he's on his own version of the Truman Show each week. But the only cameras that are running are just the regular cameras. It's not broadcast to the rest of the world. Jameis Winston. It's probably a separate conversation, but there's something about Jameis that is just remarkably entertaining. And then there's the product on the field, which has also been immensely entertaining. But I think in particular with him this week for Cleveland, I like him to go lower than 254.5 passing yards in the matchup against Pittsburgh. The thing about Winston is there's so many highs and there's so many lows. And I think if anything, what we've seen from this crop this year, and then also with the Joe Flacco experience, is that Kevin Stefanski, not the problem. It doesn't really matter what quarterback you plug in there. If the guy's name is Deshaun Watson, it's just not going to work. And Winston has had a lot of success. Like he's had games where he's thrown for 334 yards against the Ravens, 395 yards against the Saints. But he's also had some Hyde type games in the sort of Jekyll and Hyde analysis where week 10 against the Chargers, 235 yards. Week 12, 2 weeks ago against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who he's playing this week, just 219 yards. And so I think there's attempts from Cleveland to often almost autocorrect with Winston. You have a game where he has 2 pick sixes and 3 interceptions. All right, Jameis, let's try and lean a little bit more on the run game this week. Let's try to extend some plays and try to see if we can keep our offense on the field a little bit more against Pittsburgh. And the Steelers do have a strong pass defense. They've given up some holes on the ground. But since week 8, second fewest passing touchdowns in the league, 12th fewest passing yards per game, 14th fewest yards per attempt. I just look at Winston in this matchup, especially as we turn to December, AFC North type of game. It's going to be more physical. It's going to be cold. And 254.5, well, it doesn't feel like it's a lot. This is going to be a number that I think most people will see the results from last week and immediately want to take the over. But history shows us these types of games, you probably want to lean towards the under here for Winston, because they were in the game, but they're going to be a more successful operation in trying to run the ball and control the clock against a team like Pittsburgh, especially this week. So give me the lower for 254.5 passing yards for Jameis this week.
I personally have no commentary because I think you laid it out perfectly, other than to say that I just love watching Jameis Winston.
Yes.
He is like a human roulette wheel. You have no idea what's going to happen. None. Red, black, 00, whatever. Anything's in play. Like, it's every time he drops back, it's just chaos. You have no clue what the hell is going to happen. I was on with Carrington Harrison, KC. I've heard of that. Oh, yeah. And the first question he asked me, is Jameis more toward the worst quarterback in the league or the best? And I'm like, I think the worst, but who the hell knows? Like, he threw for 500 yards and was the sole reason Cleveland was in the game, and also threw 2 absolute back-breaking pick sixes and was the reason they lost the game. Like, I don't know. It's impossible. Like some of his picks are just absolutely hilarious. Like he's on his way to the ground. There's no reason to throw it. And the ball comes out like one of those t-shirts out of the potato gun where it's just rifled at 40 yards up like in the air. You're like, oh my God, like just hold on to the ball. It's fantastic. I'm all in. I just can't wait to watch the game.
Yeah. I as a known Jameis Winston stan from the beginning, I saw a tweet that compared him to Harvey Dent, where he just has the coin, and before every play, he flips the coin. And what are you gonna get? Are you gonna get evil Jameis? Or are you gonna get get good Jameis? You never know before every play. It is a great comp. It really is. It's a very strong comp.
That's marvelous. The Harvey Dent analogy. I was trying to think of where I could find that comparison to Jameis as well. And I put something out on Twitter. Now, like, I don't even remember what it is. But there's something about whatever is going to happen that, oh, you know what it is? I think Will Levis is Jameis Winston. Can make every throw. This is my tweet. Will Levis is Jameis Winston. Can make every throw. Will even occasionally make your jaw drop. Then we'll make your jaw drop even more with a bad mistake.
Will Levis is like Walmart Jameis Winston. Like yeah, he's like off-brand Jameis Winston, right? Like, I if you go to the liquor store in college and you're like, hey, I'm gonna go big and I'm gonna get some Tito's vodka. But then you get there and you look in your pocket and you're like, better make it Mr. Boston's vodka. I feel like that's the Will Levis to Jameis Winston comp. Like, it still gets the job done, but you're not quite as happy about it.
Yeah, like Winston is the Captain Morgan to Will Levis's Sailor Jerry.
Yes. So you're still gonna partake, but you're not as excited about what's going on.
Either way, you're gonna get hammered.
Yeah, either way. This will be me. You're gonna have some bad consequences.
You'll have a great night, and at some point you'll end up puking your guts out.
That is, I think, the perfect Jameis Winston experience bump right there. Is just you're good by that.
This is our YouTube short from today's episode. Jameis Winston, Will Levis is the Sailor Jerry to Jameis Winston, Captain Morgan. 50,000 likes.
Very good comp pass. Anything else on the pick card, Vinny?
No, that's it. Just those three. If any more pop up, I will. I'll tweet them out. I'll blue sky them out. Whatever the hell people are doing these days, and we'll make sure that KCSN is tagged along the way. And then make sure you guys at some point check out 5 Things, where we'll go through our 3 underdog plays for the upcoming Chiefs matchup as well.
Boom! Look at that cross promotion master right there, Ben Heisler. Thank you. As always, Benny, for coming on and sharing your picks.
Always good to see you, fellas.
Matt, before we dive into it, we got a couple days left in the our Soul of KC raffle. If you guys haven't seen it yet, we've got a few days left for you to get your tickets in. You go to givebutter.com/KCSN Soul, Venmo the KCSN Foundation at KC Sports Network. 1 ticket for $20, 5 tickets for $50, $100 gets you 15 tickets. $20 1 ticket, $50 5 tickets, $100 15 tickets. You can purchase those through Monday, December the 9th. We passed the $10,000 raised mark. All of the money that we get for this, by the way, goes directly to Operation Breakthrough. There's no keep with the foundation. It goes directly to Operation Breakthrough, who use the money to buy presents at Dick's Sporting Goods. We'll go to Dick's Sporting Goods, have a huge shopping spree. There's videos out there on social, if you haven't seen it already, of what we have been able to do for Operation Breakthrough. It's one of the best things that we do, one of my favorite things that we do. And you can win prizes. These raffle tickets will get you prizes for Patrick Mahomes mini helmet, Chris Jones signed jersey. We got Justin Reed, Shamari Connor, Leo Chanel signed jerseys, Nick Bolton signed mini helmet. We got a bourbon pack from Holiday Distillery, our wonderful partners with not only this podcast here, but the network as a whole. We got tickets, parking, and the VIP tailgate to the Houston game. Going to be a big game. Could be some really big seating implications there if the Chiefs do take care of business against the Chargers this week. That'll be a big one. You get 2 tickets to that. That's going to be a good time. Some Bobby Witt Jr. art if you are a Royals fan. A lot of momentum in Kansas City right now for the Royals. They're making some moves. They're wheeling a deal, and Bobby Witt Jr. looks to be one of the best players in baseball. You can get a nice artwork.
Juan Soto?
Yeah, they're trying to get Juan Soto. They checked in. He checked in. That would be insane. Matt.
Smaller market teams would do that just as a bit. Like, just call up Boris and be, hey, listen, Soto, 4 for 80.
Yeah,
And then just call him back like in the middle of the night, wake him up. Be all right, 4 for 90. Like just do it. Just have fun with it.
They really should, and I really hope that he does consider the Royals offer. Maybe we could throw in the tequila tasting in session taco pack if you win that one there for the Solar KC raffle. We also got gift cards to the Capitol Grill, 3rd Street Social, Red Door Grill, BB's Barbecue, Cookie Society, and the Good Old Days swag pack as well. I'm wearing underneath my pullover here that I'm wearing because it's a little chilly in my basement, so I'd pop on the pullover. I'm wearing the one of the Good Old Days shirts too there, so you can go check those out. Shop KCSN.com. You can check that out there. But if you want to donate to a good cause here, Soul KCSN raffle, purchase tickets, givebutter.com/KCSN Soul, Venmo at KC Sports Network. You can purchase those through Monday the 9th. We will be drawing winners on the 10th with only weird games. That'll be off the hook. So make sure you turn to the live stream there. All right, Matt. We only have a few days left on that, so I wanted to make sure we got that in, make sure that people knew that where we could get that. But you have written a piece over at Sports Illustrated that had seemed to send a section of Twitter ablaze. And it's honestly a section of Twitter I like to see ablazed. I'll say it.
Yeah. So about 2-3 weeks ago, I had an idea. The Bengals are struggling, scuffling. They're still struggling and scuffling. And I called my editor, Michael listening. I'm thinking about this, and I want to know if I'm insane. Should the Bengals at the end of the year trade Jamar Chase, get a ton of picks, save a ton of cash, spend that cash in other ways, and use those picks to rebuild the defense and bring in some ancillary pieces on offense? That might sound similar to people in Kansas City. That is what happened with Tyreek Hill. And so I brought this up. My editor was like, I think you should pursue it. So I talked to 6 people in the league, front office folks who are like decision makers, like not like a regional scout, like somebody who is like top of the food chain in their organization. Reached out to some of the best sources I have in the league. And I was like, look, I'm not asking you whether or not they should do it. I'm asking you, if the Bengals were to put Chase on the block, what do you think they would get a better offer or the same offer, at least the same offer as what Hill ended up going for to Miami? One said they didn't know, and they expounded on that. 5 of the 6 said bare minimum it would be the same, probably more. Okay. So I then wrote this piece, laid it out there, explained for people who aren't familiar with what the Chiefs did with Hill, like this is what happened, this is who they ended up getting, this is what they did with the cap savings, so on and so forth. And I laid out a couple different like potential trade scenarios, like the Bengals trade with New England or Washington. Like here's the picks that could get back, and here's kind of makes sense based on what we saw with Hill. And I compared it to the trade chart. I tried to make it like a similar value, a little bit better, like whatever. I did the whole. Not surprisingly, Bengals fans not thrilled. Some Bengals writers not thrilled, pissed, angry, hurt, and like I get it. And I say to all those people, I respect your opinion, but consider this. If they sign Jamar Chase after this year, which I will tell you right now is the most likely scenario. That is the most scenario out there, right? Not denying it, didn't deny it in the story. He's going to get a market-setting contract. He's having the best year of any receiver in the NFL this year. He's leading them, everybody in receiving yards, and he's got 13 receiving touchdowns, far and away the most. He's going to ask, in my opinion, to reset the market. And that's going to look something like, and I'm going to give a little bit of a round number here, 4 years, $150 million. I mean, we're talking 37.5. Okay. Right now, the high mark is 35 with Jefferson. Maybe it's a touch more. Maybe it's 145, whatever. It's a huge number. Yeah. And guaranteed money is going to be up over $100 million.
Yep.
That's a quarterback contract. Is Mike Brown going to shell out a quarterback contract for Jamar Chase? Now, I would say that he would, but probably do it wincing immensely the entire time. I would also say that if he does that, they will not spend any other meaningful guaranteed money for a while.
Right.
They did not spend it on T. Higgins. They did not give Trey Hendrickson more guaranteed money when he requested a trade. They let Jesse Bates walk and become an all-pro in Atlanta for nothing.
Yep.
They replaced him with Von Bell and Geno Stone. Von Bell's not good. Geno Stone's even worse. And both of them are going to be gone after this year. Okay? They do not spend guaranteed money. They don't. Orlando Brown, they gave a big signing bonus. But I think his entire guarantee, in fact, I'll look it up real quick. I don't think it was a massive amount.
It was 17, I believe, and at the time that was like the most guaranteed money they'd given a player.
Like it was not a huge contract. And I think sometimes you hear like, oh, Trey Hendrickson, they signed him. He got $15 million guaranteed.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, Brown's contract, $31 million guaranteed.
Okay.
Which like is a lot for the Bengals. That's like for a left tackle, it's not a ton.
I legitimately think that like when he was signed, that was like the most guaranteed money they'd given since like Carson Palmer.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't do it. So my thing, and I've already had a handful of Bengals fans like, you don't understand, you're an idiot. They could sign Chase and still have cap space. I'm like, you're right. But cap space and cash are two totally different things.
Yes.
You can fill out your cap by giving guys a bunch of contracts that don't have guaranteed money, and you're not going to get good players with those contracts. That's the problem. And if the Bengals give Jamar Chase 100, 105, 110 million guaranteed, listen, I'm not saying they won't do it, but if they do it, they're left with a roster that looks a lot like the current one. And I got to tell you, Burrow's having an MVP year. Chase is having an unbelievable year. They're 4-8.
Yep.
And it's not like you look at them and go, well, they've just had so many injuries. I mean, Higgins has missed a few games. McPherson's now going to miss a few games. But it's not like they're a team that's been they're not the Niners who have just missed everybody this year. They can't stop a nosebleed.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, okay, great. And I've also had the argument like, well, yeah, but, you know, they've sucked on the last three classes. The draft class have been terrible. If you trade Chase, you're just going to whiff on more. It's like, well, I got to tell you then, you're screwed anyway.
Yeah.
Like, if you need to draft, you need to replace this defense. And to me, then, by the way, if you get rid of Chase, bring back Higgins for 2/3 of the cost and go sign Darius Slayton.
Right.
And let Yosevich be your third receiver, and let Jermaine Burton, if he decides to dedicate himself, be a guy who can play. And fine, you have Joe Burrow. You're going to be fine.
Right.
You need to stop somebody. I just thought it was a piece I wanted to write because I truly believe in the idea. But then after talking to executives around the league, some of which are top of the market, and they're like, yeah, listen, yeah, they'd get more than the Chiefs got for Tyreek Hill. I'm like, that seems like a really enticing thing to do if you're the Bengals, who have, I don't know, like literally 15 starters they'd probably like to replace right now.
Yeah.
I mean, a dozen at least. Like, on defense, other than Trey Hendrickson, there's not one player on that defense where you're like, that guy is an impact player. Jermaine Pratt and Logan Wilson are fine.
Yeah.
But you're not circling them before a game. Like, Hendrickson's it. So, yeah, let's just say Bengals fans, not pleased. And that's fine. They can be not pleased all they want. I think it's the right way to go.
And I'm trying to think back to my thoughts and feelings during the Tyreek Hill trade. That kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. If I remember correctly, maybe not nowhere, but like it felt like it kind of it materialized very quickly. If I remember, like the reports of him, they're like, okay, the Chiefs are granting him are going to explore a trade. Oh, they've traded him. Like that was like within, I think, the time it took me to start to make the link for a live show of like the Chiefs are looking to trade Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was traded. Like that's how long it took for us to go live. So I think if that would have been approached to me like after, now granted, the years that the Chiefs were having the year before they traded Tyreek Hill, and now that the Bengals are having two very different years. But I think if I would have approached that idea, I would have been a little probably skeptical to it.
Yeah.
So like I think I understand that to an extent. Yeah.
Yep. I remember reporting on that. I was a fan site at the time. I was just kind of getting my reporting chops. And I remember talking to people around the Chiefs, and it was like, yeah, the contract's going to get done. The thought was it was going to be about $75 million, and okay, it's going to get done. It's going to be, they're going to get it done. And then the Devontae Adams trade happened.
Right.
And the Christian Kirk contract happened. And everything blew up. The negotiations just blew up. And I remember, like, asking somebody with the Chiefs in the know, I was like, what now? Like, what do you do? Like, you just traded this guy who's in the prime of his career is amazing. I remember them saying like, fix the defense, allow Mahomes to be Mahomes, spend the money wisely, hit the picks, keep winning. And it was like, okay. And I remember thinking, like, well, there's a lot of ifs in there. Like, but they nailed it. They did what they needed to do. I mean, so 2 of those picks that they got from the Hill trade, one was used to trade up for McDuffie, one was used to trade it for Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
They nailed it. I mean, and I get it. If you're a Bengals fan, you read that and you're like, oh my God, like they're going to screw the picks up. Then yeah, sure. They screw the picks up. It's a disaster. Like, you're not getting any argument out of that. Sure. But I do think if you're the Bengals, you have to seriously consider you're cash poor compared to most teams in the league. It's not a knock. It's just, it's reality. I remember when they were talking about signing Burrow, what that was going to look like. I had an agent tell me, seriously, he thought they were going to have to take out a small bank loan. Like, meant it. Not like, oh, like maybe, like, wasn't taking a shot, meant it. Like, they might have to go to a bank and take a loan out to pay Burrow. That's what you're talking about. I mean, it's not a coincidence. They never sold the naming rights to that stadium, and then Burrow needed a contract, and it became Paycor Stadium. That's not a coincidence. So if they pay Chase, yeah, they can pay him. I'm not saying they can't, and I'm not saying they won't. But if they do that, that's it. Like, there's not going to be, oh, well, now we still have $50 million in cap space. Let's go out and sign 4 other great players. Like, they're not going to spend the guaranteed money. They're not, because for anyone who's unaware of this, and this may be a good place to finish, when you sign a player in the NFL, okay, let's just say 5 years, $100 million, 50 guaranteed.
Yep.
The guaranteed portion of the contract has to be put in escrow the second that contract is signed. So you've got to have $50 million cash on hand. You got to have 50 liquid. Now, if you're Clark Hunt, you pull up the right seat cushion in your couch and you're like, oh, look at that, $50 million. Okay, even if you're not willing to upgrade the practice facilities. Like, you have the money. You have it. Jerry Jones, you have it. The Maras, the Rooneys, whoever, you have it. Mike Brown, rich beyond any of our wildest dreams, does not have that kind of money. He comes from a situation where Paul Brown created the Cleveland Browns, his father, okay, created the Cleveland Browns, and then was Modell, Art Modell took over the team and fired him.
Right.
And then he became the founder of the Bengals, but he didn't come from some massive amount of money. Like, Paul Brown was not coming from like the Crafts background, okay, or Jerry's background with oil, like in real estate and all the rest. Like, you're not coming from that background, like those types of backgrounds, Peppers in real estate, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he doesn't have the kind of, Stan Kroenke money. Doesn't have that. Same thing, by the way, is true of the Chargers. Like, they don't have that kind of money, that background, or like Walmart money, like with Denver, right? Like, you don't have that kind of money. So for the Bengals, that escrow thing is a real thing. Like, that's a real, like, and by the way, there's been talk like that should be abolished. That came into being years ago in the NFL, decades ago, because like some owners literally didn't have the money to pay the contracts.
Yeah.
So like, you don't have that now. But I'm telling you right now, if the Bengals give Jamar Chase $110 million guaranteed in escrow, they're not turning around and like, oh, let's also give this guy $60 million. Like, that's not going to happen. And so if you sign Chase, great. He's an awesome player. And there's an argument to be made, Burrow would lose his mind if they moved off of Chase because they were college teammates.
Right.
But if you do that, understand that this is what you're looking at plus a draft class. That's it. And I don't like, is a draft class one class with just first 6, 7th, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th? Like, is that going to fix this? Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be a lot harder. So take that for what it's worth.
This draft's not a very good draft either. Like it's not a draft of
They play
like
great draft now.
yeah, it's a very thin draft, top heavy. I think there's some good players in the first and early second round, early day 2, I should say, of this draft. I think that will be good players in the NFL, but it's not particularly deep in certain positions. The offensive tackle class specifically also is not as deep as a lot of tackles have, or a lot of classes for tackles have been. But look, we'll get into that. We've already got our credentials for Shrine Bowl. We're going to be rolling down there and making sure, you know us at KC Sports Network. We dive into the draft.
Here we got everything covered.
Oh, we do. We will have the draft covered here at KC Sports Network. You guys already know it. That's where our bread is buttered, is the NFL draft. And look, a good piece from you over there at SI, Matt. Go check that out. As we get ready for another week of NFL football. Look, 2-episode week from us here, Matt. We did it. We got 2 episodes in. We'll be back to your regular scheduled programming this next week. We'll look, holiday season coming up again, as we mentioned, the 10 games or 3 games. Wow, 10 games in 3 days would be insane. But 3 games in 10 games. I'm all over the place. 3 games, 10
It's a struggle.
days. It is a struggle, not only for the players, but for myself to just say it. We'll have an adjusted schedule out there too for us. I think we're going to try to sneak a podcast in between the Christmas game and the Saturday game. We'll see how that all works out, how that all shakes out. But as always, stay tuned to KC Sports Network. We will get you, we'll keep you locked in to everything we got going on here. But that's going to do it for this week's edition of That Football Show. From Matt Verderame, I'm Tucker Franklin. We will talk to you guys next week.